I got to ask you this because you talk to GMs and coaches and stuff, and especially with this draft, you'll see guys, and I appreciate all they do because it's a lot of fun, but you'll see writers grade drafts and grade picks and stuff. And especially with this draft, I mean, they're all over the place. Mm-hmm. People are pretty consistent about the Patriots having a good draft, but they're all over the place. What do the GMs and coaches say about guys like Kiper and that? Do they pay any heed to that, or I know they don't make decisions based on it, but
No, I mean, but I do think that those jobs have evolved now, and I think Mel's a little different, but guys like Daniel Jeremiah and Todd McShay, in a lot of ways, are sort of like me. They talk to a lot of people, and DJ is somebody I worked with DJ at NFL Network, and so they trade information with those guys the same way they trade information with me, and I think in a lot of cases, they'll look at the way. DJ in particular, Mayock was the king of this.
Yeah.
Mayock knew everyone, and Mayock did his own evaluations and was really good at it. But Mayock had the league consensus too. That was why he was always sheepish about. And I love Mike. I worked with Mike. He was great to work with, but Mike was always sheepish about doing rankings because it was he didn't want to break the trust that the teams had with him, And so it's I don't want to do a mock draft because I know who that team's picking. So what do I do? What do I? So and there's always that balance I think that we all have with that, where we're balancing what we know and respecting relationships and everything else, and that stuff's
Does
difficult.
lying go on? Is there any lying?
I think you get to a point where I've gotten to the point with most of the people that I talk to where they'll know, just don't lie to me, right? And I think that the mistake people make is they think that this team's lying to you about what they want to do or what they're going. They don't really. It's not how it works. It's not this person telling me, okay, this is who I'm going to take if they're on the board. I have a few people that will tell me that there were a couple last week where I legitimately didn't mock guys to teams because I knew they liked them, and I was, I kept
first round.
I kept quiet on it. I kept quiet on it. But there's other most of the a lot of the other cases. What'll happen is, and a lot of times those people I have relationships with for 15 years, and it's just there's different levels of it.
Trust, right?
Yeah, and so but there's others where it's I'll hear from 5 teams that the Membu thing's a perfect example. Everyone mocked Tyler Warren to the Jets. I mocked Membu to the Jets. Well, that was the reality of I talked to all 32 teams, multiple people with a bunch of and I'm putting puzzle pieces together, and so I'm hearing what the league is hearing. You know what I mean? So these teams chart everything. They chart 30 visits. They chart who had private workouts, combine interviews. They'll ask the other, so they're all trying to figure out the same thing that I'm trying to figure out, which is who's going where. So people ask me, it's why would a team tell you what they're doing? For the most part, they don't. It's more, all right, these 7 teams think this team is doing this, so I do too. And then maybe I'll have a conversation with somebody from that team where I'll notice something, and it'll be they'll shut up all of a sudden when I start talking about a player. You know what I mean? So some of it is instinct and sense and everything else. And, I a lot of it, I tell people, read my mock draft too. Don't just read the names. Read, because in the blurbs, I'll usually have information in there. One last week was Seattle. I had them taking, Gray Zabel, who they wound up taking in the first round. And then the blurb I think this could also be Nick Emanwari from South Carolina, the safety. Well, they traded up for him in the second round. So, that's sort of what I'm looking to do is I'm trying to figure out who likes who and put them in the best order I can. And that information trade happens. And I think guys like Mayock and DJ, they, and McShay and, they become conduits of information too to some degree. So, the teams are looking at them and saying okay, this is how this is more or less a league consensus. Their top 50 can become a league consensus because those guys aren't evaluating the players for single teams or single systems. Those guys are evaluating the players based on all 32.
Okay, so were you surprised? Just for instance, you said the Jets taking Tyler Warren. Were you surprised that Tyler Warren wasn't the first tight end taken?
A little. Not really. I thought this was something I wrote during the week that him and Colston Loveland were different players. And I ran into more people in the couple weeks leading up to the draft again when the evaluations are complete where that liked Loveland over Warren. The reason why, Loveland's a better athlete. He's 2 years younger, and he is a route runner. So with Loveland, you were kind of getting Travis Kelce. And I'm not saying he's going to be, like the greatest tight end of all time.
A more refined receiver.
But just a guy who's like a big receiver playing tight end who has that sort of skill set. Like if you watch Michigan and Penn State, you'll see Loveland's catches, he's wide open, right? Warren's catches, he has like three guys hanging on him. So that was the difference between the two, is Loveland was the better route runner. Now, Warren's like a Swiss Army knife. You can snap the ball to him. And
plus Warren was the only weapon on that team.
The reason there were three guys on
right,
him.
And that was
the only threat.
And that was part of it. But Warren's not as good, not seen as being as good an athlete as Loveland, but in the open field he's a menace. You can get the ball to him a million different ways. Like Shane Steichen, and you remember all the stuff he did up for all those years in Philly and the stuff now he's doing in Indy with the quarterbacks and everything. He's going to have a creative way to use him. So I think those two, it was going to kind of come down to what you run and how you use it.
Yeah, I was going to say, how much is system with some of these picks?
And that Rochi is sort of part of it this year in general. Is we've talked about the flaws with a lot of these guys. I'll just tell you right now, Jaylen Walker was a great example of it. Jaylen Walker was the guy who could have gone 4th, 5th, wound up going 15th. And Jaylen Walker, for some teams, was the 3rd or 4th best player in the draft. And I talked to other teams who thought he was a second rounder. But that was this year's draft. That was right. Because all these guys, we've been obsessing over Will Campbell's arm length. The reality is once you got past Hunter and Carter, every one of these guys had some sort of flaw that would probably knock them into the bottom half of the first round in some years, where you would say, and once you get to that point, right, once you get past the super elite, that's really what it becomes anyway. It's just how each player fits with each team, each system, all of that. Once you get past the super elite, where it's this guy can play for anyone. You know what I mean?
Right.
You get into that faster than people realize.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about the quarterback situation. I'm interested in what you're hearing happened in Cleveland. Not so much we can get into later why Shedeur fell. But, in the 3rd round, Cleveland takes the Gabriel kid, the quarterback out of Oregon. And he's small, and, I don't know if a lot of people had him slotted to go in the 3rd round. And then they turn around in the 5th round, and they take Shedeur Sanders, much to the delight of a lot of people that mock drafts, which is funny to me because, well, that's great. You got value with Shedeur Sanders in the 5th round, but then you peed away a 3rd-round pick on a kid that best case scenario is going to be a backup.
Yeah.
And then that whole notion of, well, you got to pay backups a lot of money in the NFL. Well, yeah. There's no guarantee this. So now you have a quarterback room with 5 guys in it. Mm-hmm. Who made the Shedeur Sanders pick at 5, in your opinion, for Cleveland?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know.
Do you think it's Jimmy Haslam?
You hear stuff. I don't know for sure, but I don't think there was a consensus on taking him, and I think that's why they didn't take him earlier. I know it's something that they had discussed and gone over, and obviously they had 2 shots at quarterbacks at the top of the 2nd round with the 33rd and 36th pick. They wound up taking a linebacker, Carson Schlesinger, and they took a running back in Quinshon Judkins. So it's not like Cleveland didn't have chances to go in on quarterback earlier. Now, I would say I think most people just look at Dylan Gabriel and are what the because they look at him physically, right?
He's 5'11", 200.
Okay, so how much smaller is he than Shedeur?
Not much smaller, but here's
2
my
inches.
Here's my thing,
2
Bert,
inches.
is that if you take Dylan Gabriel, fine. But when you take Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd round, and then you take Shedeur Sanders 2 rounds later.
And there's the context, too, of the fact that it was their final pick. that fifth rounder they took Shedeur with, they didn't have another pick after that, so that was going to be their last shot at him. And yeah, I mean,
So one of them's not going to be on the team in 2 years.
Yeah, and the big problem that's going to come for Cleveland now is how you divvy up reps, because you have only a limited amount of work that you can do in the spring by rule. And now you have Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett, who are coming in trying to win a job and have like the same guarantees in their contract. So there's the same penalty for walking away from either of them. And then you have the two rookies. You have Deshaun Watson, who's not going to practice, obviously, because he's still hurt. You have a new offensive coordinator in Tommy Rees. You could say, okay, well, Joe Flacco has been there, so maybe you limit his reps. But do you think he's going to want to do that, knowing, like, if I give these guys work with the new offensive coordinator, they're going to get ahead of me. I could get cut because of it.
Right.
Like, you guys remember how maniacal Tom Brady was about not giving reps.
Yeah.
And Brady was somebody who didn't have to worry about it as much. You know, Joe Flacco, like, very easily could be cut at the end of the summer, like, with a very low cost to the team. So how do you work out the reps like that? I mean, for me, like, I can't imagine a coach would invite all of that, but and it does feel like ownership to some degree, just in that there's like, let's throw every dart we can at getting this right because we screwed it up so badly with Deshaun.
If you like that clip, and how could you not? Check out more videos from Toucher and Hardy here. Point slightly up and to the left. For more Patriots analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. Point slightly down and to the left. And for the latest from the Sports Hub, download at 985thesportshub.com.